Welcome to my Adventurous Journey Gold Qualifying Report. My name is Eve Kogan. I walked from Heathcote to Waterfall from the 14th to the 17th of January 2019. My purpose was to revitalise an appreciation for Sydney's coastal bush landscape while also growing my navigation, teamwork and camping skills. My supervising organisation was Outward Bound and my assessor will be Claire Peck. Let me take you on my journey. It's the day before my Gold Duke of Edinburgh hike and I'm getting ready to go with this set of information from my company Sydney Coastal Walks and a nice clear room ready for packing. Finally, packing is complete. Everything other than food is ready to go in the bag. And it took a while to get all the things I needed and make sure I didn't get anything extra. I also have a water bladder that's going to go into that bag and an outfit planned for tomorrow. Just finished preparing all the food, went to Woolies today to buy it for my friend and I. We're taking turns on our practice and qualifying hikes. And this was my turn. So just some snacks here for some breakfast food, some dinner food, some veggies and wraps for lunch. Finally, all of those things are packed into the bag and the only things left are water and the refrigerated food for night one. It's the morning of Duke of Ed and we've gotten up very early at 5 a.m. to get to Heathcote at around 7 so we can avoid walking in the middle of the day where it's going to be very hot, around 30. Getting ourselves familiar with the maps. We began at Heathcote Station. It was a partly cloudy day with some light winds and we were expecting a maximum of 29 degrees. We had 18 kilometres ahead of us and we were expecting to do it in 11 hours. We have arrived at our starting destination. Our instructor met us all and brought us just out of Heathcote to the Scout Centre where he briefed us on our expectations. My map group consisting of myself, Ayla and Elise.
Don't worry, we'll be very much together like the whole day.
Navigation in map group led us down through the relatively easy track right to Battery Causeway. First checkpoint, Battery Causeway. Then we decided as a group to push all the way through to Kingfisher Pool.
I'm not able to tell hey the people at the front are going to stop. I feel like you could just...
We got lost around here, but we did manage to make it. So once we were here, we were pretty tired and the day was getting very hot. So we decided our next stop would be lunch. We followed it right through, went into Waterfall Station, then just a bit out to the tennis courts when we had lunch. Next we stopped at the memorial and then we decided we would go all the way through almost to our campsite. And then with the Alula Falls campsite, we just did a bit more walking till we arrived. Finally arrived at Alula Falls, our first campsite. It was a lovely afternoon and we even got to swim in the lagoon. We rose very early at our second day at Alula Falls because we were expecting a maximum of 32 degrees and we didn't want to be walking in the heat of the day. So we set off at 5 a.m. and then walked all the way through here to the Audley Visitor Information Cafe Centre where they had flashing toilets and we had our breakfast there. That way we were a bit fueled to face Artillery Hill, which was some hard walking. Then we went all the way to here where we had the intersection of Winford Track and the road. We continued on all the way down to Winford Falls, so we had a beautiful break. Then we went down here to the intersection of Mount Bass Fire Trail and the Bundeena Drive. Continued on all the way down the fire trail to this stop right here. Then we continued till we met the coastal track, and there we continued right through till we reached the toilets at Woodamolla. We weren't sure where we were camping, but then our guide John led us through to the most beautiful campsite of the whole trip.
22 k's later.
Worth it for the view.
Right, I'm taking them.
So we awoke at Woodamolla and we slept in a little bit and had breakfast at the campsite. It was a bit of a rest day with only 8 kilometres, but it was quite hot at 32 degrees and sunny. So we just took it quite easy till we reached Karakanga, where we had our first stop. Then we continued through that broad walk right to Eagles Rock, where our guide John showed us one of the most beautiful lookouts of the trip. With this coordinate. Then we continued on to this, down to the coastal track. Here we have it. From there, we pushed down that hill into Gary Beach. This section was quite hard for me because I had a knee injury that was playing up a bit, so I was lost. But I remember coming down looking at that view and being very impressed. We had a lovely long break of a couple of hours at Gary Beach where we had lunch and had a swim at the beach. Then we continued down along to North Era, where we set up camp for the night. The night before we left for our last part of the journey, our instructor decided it was probably too hot to follow our original track all the way back up to Waterfall Station. So he decided instead we would reach for Helensburgh over here. That way we got up early. 5 a.m. wake up and pack up on the last day.
Look, people, I've had cancer.
And we didn't have breakfast till we reached the intersection of the Burr Track and Karawara Farm Road. There we stopped for a bit. Then we continued on to the intersection with the Hacking River, which was just here. This part looked short, but it was very steep and the group struggled to get up. And when we reached, we had an early lunch. We then followed this last bit through until we reached the Helensburgh Tunnel, where our instructor had lunch. Finally, we reached the finish at Helensburgh.